evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for pro wrestling news, insight, and reviews on a daily basis. The WWE Draft 2023 kicks off tonight on SmackDown, where the fate of Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Bobby Lashley, Becky Lynch, and more will be decided. Joining me today to talk about it all, we have firstly the co-host of the podcast, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing well, man. I really jumped up and down for the theme song today more than I have in a long time, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit winded, but I'm stoked to be here on a Friday. It's been a solid morning thus far, 2-cup of coffee morning, but a good one. And I'm just stoked to get into some wrestling. We got SmackDown tonight. We got a lot going on. Draft.
Yeah.
I'm hyped.
I had 4 cups of coffee this morning, Clark, so I'm going to have to beat you there. But
I hear you.
Absolutely, it is going to be an awesome show. And also joining us, we've got the head of reviewing here at Wrestling Republic, Coby Galenzoski. How are you, Coby?
Doing pretty good. I'm back for the next 5 days. We got this. We can do this. We have a WWE Draft preview, and it's a very exciting time where it's also, coincidentally, it's during the same time as NFL Draft. As well, we got the SmackDown with a big rematch that we will obviously talk about later. But we're back. Let's do this.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it.
Not to mention, actually, the one thing I wanted to say was I'm at 0 cups of coffee now. So
no, he's a non-coffee drinker, but iced tea, I would imagine. What is it? Cup 2, 3?
No, I actually haven't had
yet?
anything to drink. I haven't had anything to drink.
So that was a wild guess.
You want to get yourself some liquid. Get some water or something.
I got water right here.
Yay.
Hydration.
But before we get into the WWE Draft, I want to quickly talk about the new World Heavyweight Championship, as I haven't been on this show for a couple of days now myself, so I haven't actually had the chance yet to talk about it. And I have a little bit to say about it. Firstly, I think the title looks, here it is, I think the title actually looks quite damn good. I mean, obviously, it's a spin-off, if you'd like, of the WWE World Heavyweight, not WWE, the World Heavyweight Championship, the big gold belt from before, which was, of course, a thing of beauty. And this is a very different belt, despite the fact it keeps a bit of a similar shape. The WWE logo is slap bang center. And a lot of people are upset about that, but the truth of the matter is that's what you got to expect in this day and age. Every company is doing it. AEW have a big AEW on the front of their belt. It's branding 101, right? It's nothing shocking, and I think the way that they've done it looks really nice. I think the circle they've done around it fits well with the side plates, which are also circular. I love the little engraved little bits as well. I think it looks really damn strong. But apart from the look of the title, which I do really like, I do have a couple of concerns about this championship. The first one is you need to make it feel almost as important as the WWE Universal Championship. And it's not going to feel quite as important because, of course, Roman Reigns has been undefeated for so long, nothing is going to top that. But you need to make sure it doesn't feel like some secondary championship. So in my eyes, it needs to go on somebody first who hasn't lost to Roman Reigns, because if it's anybody who's lost to Roman Reigns, then I feel like it feels secondary off the bat. And this championship, you want it to be a strong world championship for the other show. So the other show, whether it's Raw or SmackDown, we'll get into that later on, has a strong world champion. And I mean, the obvious choice is Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins never actually lost to Roman Reigns. Because of course the messy finish they had at I think it was the Royal Rumble a couple of years back. But yeah, Seth Rollins hasn't actually lost to Roman Reigns, and he's done a hell of a job. He's kind of not really been in the title picture apart from that Roman Reigns feud for a couple of years now. So I'd really like him to get this opportunity, because boy, oh boy, does he deserve it. And we've talked about that a lot on this podcast. How, at WrestleMania, he faced Logan Paul. I was kind of hoping for something a bit bigger for him. This is his chance to be a world heavyweight champion again, and I would love to see it. Now, the only issue is, does Seth Rollins actually make a little bit too much sense? Is it too obvious? He's the one they're teasing about it. Everybody's predicting him. I haven't looked at the betting odds. I don't know if there are betting odds out for it yet, but I'd imagine Seth Rollins is favorite by quite a bit. So, Clark, I'm going to head to you. Do you think Seth Rollins is maybe a little too obvious?
I kind of do. As much as I would love to see Seth be the guy to win that title, I think Seth needs to be on the list of challengers for Reigns, considering he's the only one along the way that wasn't involved in a clean finish in his loss to Roman. And I think he needs to be in line for that undisputed universal WWE, the long one.
Yeah.
The new belt I really like. And to your point, I really loved what you said about it has to be somebody that kind of defines the belt out of the gates.
Yeah.
I think over somebody that the belt makes, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Yeah.
Seth is super obvious. I don't know if there's a happy medium with Cody, but that
just lost to Roman, though. That's the issue.
And so that's what I was going to say is that feels a bit like a consolation prize for Cody. And that's where I think the brilliance of what you said about it should be someone that hasn't lost to Roman. And that's where I might say if he was more over and not involved in this stuff with Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley may be another choice.
Yeah.
But I don't know who else. It's tough. But Lashley with the kind of defended against everyone attitude, I wouldn't have an issue with that. The only other one I can think of really is Braun Breaker. And that's a reach as well. So it's tough. It's tough. That's a tough one to break down.
And before we head to Kobe, because of Kobe, I know what you're going to say. And it's what a lot of our Instagram comments are saying as well, because I know you're a huge fan of him. LA Knight. Is this, a star-making performance? Could he really add some prestige to that belt? And to answer the question, yes, I do think he could add some prestige to the belt, but I just don't think at his age. I'm sorry, Kobe. I'm sorry, everyone. I don't think at his age it's worth trying to build him into a top star. I think on the mic, he's got a career in this company for the rest of his life if he wants it. As a manager, or even a player-manager, I think he's could be the next Paul Heyman, and that's a big bit of praise to give him there. But you also did bring up a very good point, Clark, that yes, maybe Seth needs to be something. They need people to face Roman who haven't faced Roman yet too. So the champion needs to be somebody who hasn't lost to Roman, but also they need other people who haven't lost to Roman yet for other feuds. They're in a really bad situation in terms of that. But I'm happy they are adding a secondary championship. But Kobe, who do you think it should be?
I mean, I said this on Tuesday. If it is not Seth Rollins, it should be someone like an LA Knight. I think Bobby Lashley could be in a feud with Theory still. Obviously we'll get to this when we're closer to the date talking about Backlash, but I think I have a good idea for a finish. I don't know exactly. I doubt that's the route they'll go, but it would be a finish I would like for that. But if it's not Seth Rollins, which I actually do agree with, it's kind of it's being telegraphed as Seth should be the one.
Yeah.
If the direction is not a Seth versus LA Knight or a Seth versus some other heel for SummerSlam in that area, I almost think the direction is Seth and Logan Paul again. I think you can get a couple other matches from that. I think Logan Paul being the champion is one going to be comedic. Two, I think you can make him the fact that if you build him as this is the champion that should be getting beaten, but keeps getting that victory and keeps retaining, not via suspicious tactics like Roman. I think it's almost the chase would be good for SummerSlam if you go in that direction. Because I could almost see Logan winning Money in the Bank as well, but I almost see Logan in that position that could be really good as one like the first feud if it is him and Seth or Seth or champ or Logan as champ. I could go either way.
So you think that Logan Paul could be in the WWE? The World Heavyweight Championship picture?
I think he's more of a candidate than Braun Breaker.
Wow, that is
I 100% think he is.
Big statement there.
Because keep in mind, if we haven't recapped it, NXT Spring Breaking.
NXT
after Carmelo and Waller banger match.
Have you ever heard
Carmelo
of
called out Braun Breaker, and it very much is NXT Battleground is Braun Breaker versus Carmelo Hayes. So Breakker is no way, shape, or form gonna be in Saudi Arabia for Night of Champions.
Either way, have you ever heard of David Arquette?
I think somebody's at Kobe's door there.
He carried the big gold belt, and I'm relatively confident that that's what the reaction would be if Logan Paul was either the inaugural champion or the second one. I mean, I respect what Logan Paul has done since he's been in the game, since he's been in the WWE. It's awesome. It's impressive. It's cool. It feels like he's taking it seriously. If you put the belt on him, that is a one-way ticket to turnstile.
Yeah.
And if you lose the hardcore fan base first in the arenas, that will leak to the internet. It will. It doesn't necessarily every time, but on something like that, if you turn off your week-to-week viewers on Logan just to pop social media and you hand him this new belt, it's Arquette 2.0.
It could be messy.
It's not the same scenario. Now, and this is no disrespect to David Arquette because he obviously learned to wrestle. He did. And you know, I mean, what happened with him and Nick Gage is insane. Made for great, entertaining documentary television. But at the end of the day, that's what we're risking here if you put it on Logan, because it's easy to, when you get to that spot, all of a sudden it clicks like, wait a minute, they put the first world heavyweight title on Logan Paul, or the second, he won it second. And it's easy to forget about all the positivity he's built along the way, losing to Reigns in the high spots, his debut, you know, I mean, even the match with Seth Rollins, it's easy to all of a sudden overlook that if the fans are going, no, really?
Yeah.
Now,
and Logan's taken to social media already to tease him being world heavyweight champion as well. So now Kobe said, I do think it's possible, unfortunately, but Clark.
A pick that I have out of my back pocket, though, that I thought of while you guys were talking is, and I think it's a guy that's owed one. He carried the belt during the Thunderdome era. He won the belt in front of no fans. Why not Drew? He
lost to Roman.
I understand he lost to Roman, but he also didn't lose to Roman fully clean compared to the other guys.
True.
There was definitely some interference there, and he had probably the best bell to bell. Maybe Cody. That one's splitting hairs.
I'd actually personally say Jay.
Jay, I would argue, but let's call it singles match, not stipulation included.
Yeah.
Because the spectacle of Brock Last Man Standing was pretty amazing, and then
that ring going over.
The ring.
Yeah, but just for as far as like just straight challenger singles match, Drew, and he's owed one, man. He should be carrying a world title in front of fans, and he should win it in front of fans. Now, they've scheduled this for Night of Champions, which is after Money in the Bank, isn't it?
No, it's not.
It's after Backlash. So that is, that is
between Backlash and Money in the Bank.
Be insane for us wrestling fans.
What if they put it on
Night of Champions?
Whoever it is, maybe it's Seth, could be anyone. And then the move is you give Drew his moment, you have him win Money in the Bank early, and then the end of the night, cash in the UK, and you give him the big moment. It's not a bad idea.
That could be interesting, and you know that UK crowd would go nuts. Well, I'm going to throw out one last little pick here, and this is a real wild card, and that is Braun Strowman. Because I've just been going through the roster now, and yes, he's in a tag team with Ricochet and all of that right now. But if they split them up during the draft, which, let's be honest, it's a possibility. Even though they're together on the draft, we know that they can do whatever they want by WWE for television. I honestly think Braun Strowman is somebody who, I've not always been the biggest fan of, but since he's returned, he's been fantastic in the ring. He's really impressed me. And he's somebody who has been, a WWE champion before, and he's somebody who hasn't, I say he hasn't lost to Roman in this reign. He actually lost to Roman right at the start of the reign, but hasn't lost since then. So there's been enough time that perhaps he could be a surprise name you could throw in the hat for him, for that. I don't know, but that is one possibility I'd like to add as well. But let's now head on. Actually, we got a couple of comments first, which I need to get to, and let's have a look. So we got Motor Talkie Wrestling in the comments saying that they see Joe Gacy and Ava debuting with Bray Wyatt and Bliss tonight, forming the Wyatt Six. Or perhaps Pete Dunne gets drafted to Raw and AJ Styles to SmackDown, plus Braun and Cora to Raw. Well, Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss aren't scheduled to be drafted. They're not in the drafting pools, but again, it's WWE. Anything can happen. Let's not act like it's impossible, but yeah, currently they're not scheduled, so I wouldn't bet on it, but who knows? I would like to see that. And they also add that in all seriousness, they see the Creed brothers being drafted to Raw. Imagine Alpha Academy versus those guys. That would be fantastic, and Creed brothers could well, because Kobe, they're not really doing much in NXT right now, are they? They're pretty much...
I mean, they just lost a tag title shot. It was like them, the Dyad, and Gallus. Now they're kind of going in the direction of, well, next week it's scheduled Joe Gacy versus Joe Coffey. If Gacy wins, the Dyad gets another title shot. And, well, yeah, so the Creed brothers did get pinned. The Creed brothers got pinned, and then if Coffey wins, the Dyad can't get a title shot ever.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that's already another situation that is weird.
I'm a big Creed Brothers guy as well. But yeah, you're right. He's probably unlikely Gacy, but who knows? But I'm a big Creed Brothers guy, and I'd love to see them. And he also says in the comments they're pretty deadly, definitely more entertaining than Maximum Male Model. So they want to see Pretty Deadly called up.
I'll say this based off of Spring Breakin'. Pretty Deadly pretty much got written off of television.
Well, they got thrown in the ocean.
They got cool. Like, there's no way they are coming back from being sleeping with the fishes, essentially.
Pretty Deadly, and
I think they are a guaranteed call up.
I'd love that. I'd love Pretty Deadly and Creed.
Oh, I think their tag team psychology, as a tag team, they are probably one of the most proficient teams out there.
I think it'd be interesting to see if they pair them with male models, maximum male models.
Please, I'd want to see. Okay, if you're replacing Masay and Mansoor with Pretty Deadly, maybe, but I'd rather see him with Seth Rollins than with Seth Rollins. Just the outfits.
I'd like
the outfits are going to be crazy.
But does that make Seth a heel?
It's worked in NXT. I don't know if it worked to the exact same extent on the main roster, but I think they can still be a very entertaining part of weekly television, which is what the tag team division needs more of. So I'd be completely down to see that. And I feel like them and Alpha Academy actually could have an interesting, funny feud as well to kick things off. But we got numero one Superfly in the comments going predictions for the draft for Raw, Sammy and Kevin, Judgment Day, Latino World Order, Pretty Deadly, LA Knight, Bianca Belair, Becky, Bayley, Sheamus, Drew, Alpha Academy, Maximum Male Models, Uso, Seth, and Austin Theory. Predictions for SmackDown, Roman and Solo, Rhea, Imperium, Roxanne Perez, Dakota and Io, Bobby Lashley, Alexa Bliss, Oscar, and Cameron Grimes, Butch, and Ridge Holland. And yeah, so very quickly now, I'm actually going to run down everybody who's available for the draft tonight. So let's move on to the next topic before we debate all we like about who's going where tonight. Here are the wrestlers that are eligible to be drafted tonight on SmackDown. And this is in alphabetical order. Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Bobby Lashley, Candice LeRae, Chelsea Green, and Sonya Deville. Cody Rhodes, Damage Control, Dexter Lumis, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Edge, Hit Row, Imperium, Lacey Evans, Matt Riddle, Maximum Male Models, Mustafa Ali, Natalia, Omos with MVP, Shinsuke Nakamura, The Bloodline, bracket, just Roman and Solo Sikoa. So the Usos are being drafted separately on Monday night. The Miz, the OC, the Street Profits, the Viking Raiders, and select NXT superstars. And my first question about all of this, right, is the last few years, these have been the draft rules. I've actually got it here, right? Let me show it here. Oh, here we are. SmackDown will draft 30 superstars. Raw will select another 41 superstars. And Raw, the last few times has always gone first. But if that is the case, then it would be stupid if Raw don't pick Roman first. So, I mean, I'm presuming what they're going to do is Raw gets the first pick Monday, SmackDown gets the first pick tonight. Although that would mean that Raw tonight will get the 4th and the 5th pick if they're keeping the same rules. But whatever, right? No way can Raw have the first pick tonight because surely Roman Reigns isn't going to Raw. What do you think, Clark? Do you think maybe they're going to swerve us and Fox are going to get the World Heavyweight Championship?
You know, it's funny. I don't think the new World Heavyweight title is a knockoff of the old one fully, but obviously in the design, it's close. And that championship, while it was debuted on Raw by Eric Bischoff, it's fascinating if you think about the parallels historically. And this isn't my answer to your question. I can't fathom necessarily Roman going to Raw, but I am starting to think it's possible, only given the big gold belt, the World Heavyweight Championship, initially was introduced on Raw by Eric Bischoff and bestowed upon Triple H. Years later, we have Triple H do nearly the same thing on Raw. That belt spent a heck of a lot of time on SmackDown.
Yeah.
After the initial run.
That's the first wrestling championship I saw watching SmackDown.
Yes, it was carried by, Batista, and I mean, it was on SmackDown a long time. Edge carried that belt on SmackDown a long time. Undertaker. Absolutely. There's a lot of history with the big gold belt on SmackDown. And it's kind of Great Khali. Mark Henry, right? Jericho. I believe, actually, even.
Jericho.
I think he actually carried it on Raw when they flipped it back. Right, Kobe? I think. When he was best in the world, I think that was when they flipped it back to Raw.
I think wasn't him and Edge a SmackDown rivalry? I think it was. Doesn't matter. I think it was.
Either way, that's totally possible. But I thought actually for some reason that happened on Raw because that was during the CM Punk Jeff Hardy feud over the spinner belt. But not the point. Anyway, I think at the end of the day, it would be cool to see it on either brand.
Yeah.
It'd be an aggressive move by Fox and SmackDown to let Roman go to USA and go, look, we're going to build around this World Heavyweight title. Although I don't think Fox
would say that, but I think it'd be purely WWE if that was to happen.
Right. But I think that's what I was going to get to is I think if that were to be the case, it would be like, well, look, we're going to load this 2-hour Friday night roster. Yeah. And so you'll see, I don't want to say everyone but Roman, but like names we mentioned, Edge, SmackDown. We'll see, right? Legitimate title contenders that are kind of stuck in this. We have one guy that bounces between both shows and he's faced everybody thing. We'll see every, hungry lion that's possible that you can even fathom on the top of the main card on the SmackDown side, if that were to play out. And that's hypothetical completely, by the way. I'm not saying that's what I believe is going to happen. I absolutely believe that the first pick tonight, SmackDown, Roman, and then on Raw, they figure out the world title thing. Yeah, but if they were to do it, that's the way I would go about it.
Yeah, that would be the smart way. And also, Chaos in the comments here, take it to the table, has a comment. He is saying they could easily do what they did with John Cena. He gets drafted to Raw today, and then on Monday he goes back to SmackDown. I don't really know how in this draft format it would happen, but sure, anything is possible, especially as the Usos are drafted on Monday, so maybe Paul Heyman will find some loophole in it all. I wouldn't put it past them. Perhaps they will run that back. And we got Motor Talkie Wrestling saying again, we could... They're basically saying who could, go back down to NXT to be developed. They're suggesting perhaps Dana Brooke and Aaliyah and Mustafa Ali as well. So some people are claiming that perhaps the NXT anonymous camera person could be Mustafa Ali. I'm going to be honest, I'm not really sure about that storyline. So I'll take it. I'll take it to our NXT guy, Kobe, to ask that too. But also, Kobe, what do you think's happening with Roman Reigns?
So just to inform it, because it was brought up, the NXT Anonymous it's a Twitter account that's posting backstage videos of people getting beat up. And like not last week on Spring Break-In, they used it to write off the standout Ruka because apparently she, as far as I know, she has a torn ACL, which not fun. No one's gonna like it. She was growing, and almost everyone enjoyed her. But NXT Anonymous has been going around, I want to say, since like the beginning of the year, and it shows that, and it shows like people having conversations, like it shows people having arguments. There's not really a direction, and we don't know. If I had a guess, to me, almost based on the character, I would give it to Stevie Turner, because she's been given that whole, oh, I'm the content creator, I'm the streamer gimmick. Obviously, It's a weird kind of gimmick, but I think that fits this storyline. I don't know if it would be Mustafa Ali. I don't know. I haven't seen anything related to it. I wouldn't be opposed to it. The only thing I said is, and I remember saying this in like February and January, is I wanted to see Alpha Academy in NXT for a bit. Them and Creeds, how Gable killing it with a lot of people would be amazing. At the end of the day, I don't know. There's no way going to be like, oh, these guys are drafted to NXT. They're not going to form it like that. If someone goes to NXT, it's more likely going to keep the same format of, oh, the New Day make a surprise appearance. Oh, they had a short run. AJ Styles showed up, fought Grayson Waller in a fun match. Gargano just had a solid promo with Grayson Waller. Or program, not promo. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be interesting. And this is the issue with Roman Reigns right now. Roman Reigns barely showed up on Monday Night Raw with Raw's world title. At the time, it was the WWE title.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Raw has struggled as a 3-hour show for the last how many months. It was very much obvious before the regime shame, sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Happens to all of us.
Triple H took over, it was very much obvious, and Triple H did his best to put the U.S. title in that position. Obviously, it was never gonna be in that position. But the problem I see with it is if they say Roman Reigns is going to Raw, that void is still going to be there for the vast majority of the time. I do not see Raw. I don't want to say I do not see Raw, but I do not see them saying Raw is going to get the face of the company, Roman Reigns, and they're still going to have the void because Roman doesn't show up on a week-to-week basis. I'm not putting that on WWE. I'm putting that on the fact that they said, let's unify the titles, put them on Roman Reigns, and have him negotiate less time and less dates of appearance in his deal. That's a weird scenario altogether. Yeah. At the end of the day, I think it should go to SmackDown. I think Raw needs a world champion where SmackDown hasn't flawed and hasn't been in the position to where they were lacking because of Roman Reigns' absence, because he wasn't always there, but the Bloodline storyline was the best storyline. And it probably is still one of the best storylines we've seen in the last almost decade, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's a lot easier to get away with not having a champion week in, week out on a 2-hour show rather than a 3-hour show like you made, Kobe. That is an excellent point. So yeah, this new World Heavyweight Championship, I would love for it to be on Raw and for them to really build it up, despite the fact, like Clark, you touched upon, it does have a lot of history. Well, the old version of it has a lot of history on SmackDown. I still think Raw is probably where it should go for the time being. But now let's talk about the actual draft itself, right? Tonight, in terms of any shock moves that you guys see happening, I personally think Roman Reigns is going to go to SmackDown. I don't actually know. And this is something which has been quite interesting to me. I don't really know who Raw's first pick is actually going to be. But I actually think Cody Rhodes is also going to go to SmackDown because I think they're going to build back up at WrestleMania 40 to Cody versus Roman, like you called, Clark, through the Rocky storyline. It makes sense. It made a lot of sense when you laid that storyline out. And I said at the time, I was like, I don't know. That's a whole year with a part-time champion. Another year again. I don't know. But now they've introduced but another World Championship belt on the other brand. I think that eases the concerns a lot more. So I think it's possible you could wait all the way to WrestleMania to do Cody versus Roman Reigns 2 and really build Cody up. So I think Cody is also going to be moving. to SmackDown. But yeah, I mean, it's really who Raw's first pick is going to be, really. I mean, you do perhaps have Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair would make a lot more sense. So perhaps it's going to be Bianca Belair first for Raw. But yeah, you got a lot of names in there, and you're like, maybe, but who knows? What about you, Clark? Do you see any shocks happening to you? And what do you think the first picks of the first round are going to be?
The only thing that I would say out of the gates is I'm rooting for some shock picks. That would be awesome, right? Some steals, some drama. I think that just spice up this year's draft in that way. Honestly, I would enjoy if they made all of us kind of panic, where we're like, what are they doing? A little bit. Like I want to see some and shout out to our buddy Chaos, but some chaos tonight. Like I would love to see some picks that we just don't see. Some champions change brands. Be funny to flip the Intercontinental title to Raw because it fills a little bit of a void with Gunther and Imperium along the way to the crowning of the new World Heavyweight Champion. And then Theory maybe flip to SmackDown. That would be interesting to me somehow. A flip of those two mid-card titles, I would have no issue with. Ripley Belair, I don't know what you do there because of the Judgment Day. So anything is like a half shock, but it's not really because it'll be explained later with where the Judgment Day goes.
Yeah.
So it's that would be kind of cool if it mattered. If it were Charlotte still on the belt.
Yeah. No, come on.
You could flip Charlotte and Bianca, but Ripley is on mostly Raw. They already kind of just broke the rules and were like, yeah, no, it's Ripley. She won it's gonna be
the Royal Rumble, isn't it?
Which is
the window for star from the Rumble picks the other brand. Yeah.
It's great, but like realistically, both women's titles are on Raw, and we're still talking about the lack of a men's world title on Raw, which is no knock on the women carrying the belts, but it's like we've had the U.S. title thing, the third hour is an issue, all of this, all of that. At the end of the day, I think flipping the mid-card titles would be interesting.
I do have a question for you, though, Clark, about flipping the mid-card titles, because it was something that I was thinking about. And let's say, because I think we're all in agreement here that the World Heavyweight Championship's likely going to Raw and Roman Reigns is likely staying on SmackDown. But here's the thing, if they switch to the mid-card titles and Gunther goes to goes to Raw with the Intercontinental Championship, then because of his long championship reign and all of that, does that kind of make the Intercontinental title feel as important, if not kind of more important than the World Heavyweight Championship? Whereas with Austin Theory, it blatantly does feel like a mid-card title. Gunther's done such a good job with that Intercontinental Championship. It feels a lot more important now, which is why I kind of personally would like him to be on the same brand where Roman is. So Gunther feels like, not a world champion, but close to it when Roman's not there. I mean, what do you think about that?
Oh, I couldn't agree more, actually. I think you're spot on and didn't even think of it that way. And it's funny because obviously we can't rebook hindsight, but like, why didn't they do that sooner?
Yeah.
We may be complaining less if Austin Theory isn't the face of Raw as your failed Money in the Bank cash-in guy in generic trunks with his move that he stole the name from Usher.
The Austin Theory weekly rant.
Yeah, no, it just makes no sense to me. Like, that's the face of the show, really? Like, I mean, I've seen guys on AEW Dark that like dress the same look, like got the whole thing, like, and that's no knock on AEW Dark. The talent's great over there too. Like, it's just, I have never understood it. Maybe I'll figure it out someday. I mean, if John Cena can't make you look really good, I don't know where we go from there. So in
fairness, I think it was Cena who looked a little off in that match. In complete brutal honesty, and I'm a big Cena guy.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, he did. I mean, that run to the ring was interesting to say the very least. He was. Yeah, he was. I want to say a step slow.
Yeah, but what about you, Kobe? Do you have any surprise picks for the draft before we move on to the tag match?
I think it's an interesting thing, and I mean, obviously, the one thing I want to know is Paul Heyman going to be with Roman exclusively, or is he also going to represent the Usos as well? Because he's not stated as he's not in the same position as MVP is, because it says Omos with MVP. It's not Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that could be how they draft it, because as much as they are presenting Roman and Sikoa as a package deal, like they said, tag teams can be split. So obviously that could go that way. It's interesting. It's weird, but it's weird that if they follow the same format of Raw's going to get 3 and SmackDown's going to get 2, which I always hated it. I understand Raw has more time and more of a, I don't want to say more of a, more time to fill, and it's 3 hours. I think that's where you just say, okay, well, there's however many free agents still after the draft, they can sign a bunch more of those than SmackDown. Yeah. I always hated that. At the end of the day, I mean, the first 2 picks are either going to be Cody going to Raw or Roman going to Raw, and the vice versa. I think.
Wow, so you think Cody's going to be on a different brand to Roman?
I think he has to. If it's the same format of Raw, SmackDown, Raw, SmackDown, Raw for one round of the draft, the first pick, if it's not Roman, it has to be Cody Rhodes.
What about Bianca, the women's world champion? How about that?
I think they don't have. I think they're going to be able to get away with that being a later pick anyway. And that, don't get me started on that, because I hate the fact that the Raw Women's Champion is available for a draft. And we don't want to see the same thing happen where
true.
Charlotte drops the title. Oh, Ripley's going to stomp on her title. I don't know. I don't want to see that. No one can, that's not the drama we need. If I was going to say, if we were going to say that what are the mistakes the draft can be, is if they try to switch the women's title again. I don't care about that. I don't need to see Ripley and Bianca switch the belts unless you're going to go with the statement of, as long as they are a SmackDown contracted talent, as long as they are the Raw Women's Champion, they can be on Raw. Yeah. But that makes no sense, because then Bianca's going to lose and go right to SmackDown. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense for the women's tag titles, where if Raquel goes to SmackDown, Liv goes to Raw. Okay, well, when they lose the belts, they go to where they're signed or where they were drafted. That makes sense, but it makes no sense to switch the belts.
I completely agree with you on the. I completely agree with you on the women's championship thing. I do. Yeah, I agree with that.
It makes sense for the men's mid card. It does.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot more sense than women's titles. I agree. They should not be swapping them around. Rhea Ripley should go to SmackDown, Bianca Belair to Raw. Personally, I think the easiest way to get through it, because look, I mean, we got Chaos in the comments here saying, basically saying if Cody goes to a separate brand to Roman, they'll make the finish the story stuff totally pointless.
Thank you, Chaos.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you.
Chaos.
I think it's very simple. Bianca's the Raw Women's Champion. She's been champion for over a year. She's, technically in terms of kayfabe, so apart from Roman, well, I mean, I guess in Gunther 2, I guess. Yeah, Gunther 2. There's Roman Reigns, Gunther, and Bianca Belair are on the biggest undefeated streak. So, I mean, it would make perfect sense for Bianca Belair to be Raw's first pick. It would solve the Raw the women's title swapping as well situation. And yeah, I think Cody and Roman need to be on the same brand just for all that. But we're running short for time, so in the last couple of minutes, guys, I want to talk about the big match tonight on WWE SmackDown, and that is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn defending their newly won undisputed WWE Tag Team titles against the Usos in their rematch. I personally think that, very simply, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to win this, and then perhaps Jimmy and Jay get split up on Monday. I've said it before, that's going to be my shock pick for Monday, and I'm going to get more into that on Monday. But Clark, I'll head to you first. What do you think the result of this tag match is going to be tonight on SmackDown?
The rematch? It's got to be not quite the same, but I don't see a scenario where it's flipped the other direction again. It's got to be a retain. Maybe somehow in a way that leaves the door open to continue this down the road. But I think it would be not right to just put the belts right back on the Usos. That would be frustrating to me. And so I see either haluva kick stunner or something similar and ball game.
Do you think the Usos could be split on Monday?
Okay, so that's a better question. And more important too, and I meant to address that. I think they should be split. Not just could, should be. I think and I've talked about this, it's funny, but just like the little nuggets along the way. Jey Uso, 90 overall in the video game, 89 for Jimmy. The most recent Elite figures, Jey Uso, white gear. Jimmy, black gear. Really interesting. Tension's been teased along the whole way.
You love this, don't you? You love the little details in this story.
I love that stuff about it, and I think that given those details in that scenario, I think the answer is that you split the Usos temporarily because that reunion tour that's got money in it too.
Yeah.
So let's not think this is like the end forever, but you split them maybe even in a way that leads to a singles match between the two somehow.
Yeah.
At a Survivor Series, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
When you go cross brand there, given what they do.
Although I think Triple H is against it, but who knows?
Either way, we'll see. I don't know but that would be, if I was playing with toys there, I would say
I'd be interested.
That would be interesting too. Just to, even if it's like I don't want to, but it'd be the brother versus brother thing would be pretty outstanding to see. And with twins, it's right. That's
absolutely couldn't get better. Couldn't
be
get
fascinating.
Any better. But I mean, the big thing here about is the Usos are on a different day and are separate to Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And I mean, one thing for this could be maybe they're separating the Usos from the bloodline. But I don't get why you do that, to be brutally honest, I don't really see the appeal of it. I think some of the best stuff ever has been while they're in the bloodline. So I would not do that, but I would. I think splitting the Usos does make sense. But what about you, Kobe? Do you think that they could split up Jey and Jimmy this Monday on Monday Night Raw?
I mean, I think it's very telling based off of the whole angle they were approaching on Monday Night Raw, where they post trios match or 6-man tag with the LWO, they get on the mic. The Usos are dedicating this match to Roman Reigns. At the end of the day, I don't think there's we always see it as what if. And I think it's going to be at the position to where they are going to not get the victory. Roman's going to be mad. Something's going to happen. You can always have Roman be a factor. Maybe he pulled his backstage strings to make sure Jimmy came with him and Jey is alone. Jay's with Sammy. Maybe the bloodline stays on SmackDown and Kevin and Sammy go to Raw and Jey goes there. I think something needs to happen, like the Usos showing respect, or Jey Uso showing respect to Sami Zayn in this match. Obviously, there's the lingering threat, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They can always have Roman Reigns being that figurehead of he's going to be calling the shots for the bloodline regardless. Paul Heyman could be with Jey Uso on Monday Night Raw. You have a message from my tribal chief saying all that. And at the end of the day, there's always the capability for him to have that position in the storyline. And at the end of the day, I can see them being split up. I don't know who goes where. If I had to say something, I'd say Jey goes to Raw with Sammy and Kevin in that area. And there is still that respect of the matter between Jey and Sammy, or something along those lines. But at the end of the day, I think they do retain the tag titles.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think that is the direction in which they should go today, and I hope it's the direction in which they will go, because, come on, Kevin and Sammy have a lot more to do. But thank you, everybody, for watching. This brings us to the end of the episode today. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a like and subscribe. If you're watching on Spotify, please leave a 5 stars and follow. It really does help us out massively, and we super appreciate it. We're here every single day, and we'll be back here tomorrow. Same time tomorrow. But thank you guys for watching. See you then.